The hotel keycard beeped green, and I pushed open the door to the penthouse suite, champagne bottle in hand, ready to surprise Grant before his investor dinner. What I found instead shattered every illusion I'd built over 18 months. My sister Celeste, straddling my fiancé on the California king bed, his hands gripping her hips, her head thrown back, the 8-carat engagement ring I'd been showing off for weeks glinting obscenely on her finger as she steadied herself against his chest. They didn't notice me at first. 3 seconds that lasted a lifetime. 3 seconds where I saw everything. The discarded clothes forming a trail from the door, Grant's wallet open on the nightstand next to a receipt dated 2 weeks ago from this same hotel, Celeste's overnight bag already unpacked in the closet. This wasn't a mistake. This was routine. Grant's eyes met mine over Celeste's shoulder. No shock. No shame. Just cold calculation like he was already running numbers on damage control. Kimberly. He didn't even push Celeste off him. We should talk. My sister finally turned, and the look on her face wasn't guilt. It was triumph. She smiled, actually smiled, while still sitting on top of my fiancé. I was going to tell you at Mom's birthday dinner tomorrow, Celeste said, dismounting slowly, deliberately. She grabbed Grant's shirt and pulled it on. My favorite shirt of his. But I guess now works too. If you're already feeling the rage building, hit that like button and subscribe to Formidable Revenge channel and know that we love you. Drop a comment telling us where you're watching from, because this story is just getting started, and what happens next will blow your mind. The champagne bottle slipped from my hands, exploding against the marble floor. Neither of them flinched. How long? My voice came out strangled, foreign. Does it matter? Grant was already reaching for his pants, utterly calm. Like this was a business negotiation. Since Christmas. The ski trip to Aspen. 4 months. 4 months of lies while I planned our wedding, while I introduced him to my biggest client contacts, while I put his name on the deed to my condo because he said we were building a future together. My mother had warned me about Celeste, had pulled me aside at Christmas and said, "Watch your sister around Grant. You know how she gets when she sees something she wants." I'd laughed it off, told Mom she was being paranoid. Celeste had a boyfriend, some investment banker named Trevor. She'd seemed happy. Trevor doesn't know, does he? I asked, pieces clicking together. Celeste examined her nails. Trevor's in Singapore for 3 months. What he doesn't know won't hurt him. She looked up at me, and her eyes held something I'd never seen before. Pure malice. Besides, Trevor's boring. Grant has real money. Real power. You calculating little. Careful, Grant interrupted, stepping between us. Before you say something you'll regret, let's discuss this rationally. I'm willing to compensate you fairly for your half of the condo. And I'll personally reach out to Martin Holdings to smooth things over after we announce our engagement. My blood turned to ice. Martin Holdings? What does my biggest client have to do with this? Grant's smile was reptilian. Did you really think they hired your firm because of your pitch? I connected you to Richard Martin 2 years ago. That account exists because of my relationships. He paused, letting it sink in. Leave quietly, and I'll make sure they stay with your agency. Make a scene, and I'll personally recommend they move their business elsewhere. I wanted to claw his eyes out. Instead, I turned to my sister. Mom is going to be devastated. Celeste shrugged. Mom will get over it. She always does. And honestly, Kimberly, you should be thanking me. You two were never right for each other. You're too. She waved her hand dismissively. Ernest, Grant needs someone who understands power. Someone willing to do what it takes. What it takes. I laughed, harsh and bitter. You mean sleeping with your sister's fiancé? I mean recognizing opportunity. Celeste moved closer, her voice dropping to something almost gentle. Almost. You were always the good one. Perfect grades. Perfect career. Perfect life. For once, I saw something I wanted first. And I took it. The hotel phone rang. Grant answered it, his expression shifting. That's the car service. Our dinner reservation is in 40 minutes. He looked at me with manufactured sympathy. You should go, Kimberly. This is a big meeting. Several venture capital firms. It would be awkward if you stayed. Awkward. The word tasted like poison. You're worried about awkward. I'm worried about professionalism, Grant corrected. And honestly, you're not helping yourself by being hysterical. I wasn't crying, wasn't yelling, but in Grant's world, any emotion from a woman was hysteria. Celeste was already in the bathroom, fixing her makeup, utterly unconcerned. Through the open door, I could see her touching up her lipstick. The same expensive shade I'd recommended to her last month. My phone buzzed. A text from my mother. Looking forward to tomorrow, sweetheart. I made your favorite cake. Can't wait to see you and Grant. Tomorrow. My mother's 60th birthday. The party I'd spent weeks planning. The party where Grant was supposed to announce our wedding date. You're still coming tomorrow, right? I asked, voice hollow. Grant adjusted his tie in the mirror. Celeste and I discussed it. We think it's better if we tell your parents together. Unified front. Your mother will be upset, but she'll understand once we explain that we're in love. I left the hotel in a daze, Grant's final words echoing. Leave the ring on the dresser. That's a family heirloom and Celeste should have it. Family heirloom. Another lie. I'd been with him when he bought it at Tiffany's. Helped him choose the setting. But pointing that out felt pathetic. My best friend Natasha met me at a bar near my condo. When I told her everything, her face cycled through shock, rage, and something that looked like pity. The condo, she said carefully. Did you actually put his name on the deed? We were getting married. He said it showed commitment. Natasha closed her eyes. Kim, tell me you at least kept separate bank accounts. The silence answered her question. The wedding fund, she whispered. Joint account. $50,000. My $50,000. Natasha grabbed her phone. I'm calling my lawyer friend. No. Before Grant tries anything else. But it was too late. When I got home, my key didn't work. The locks had been changed. A notice was taped to the door. Property of Grant Ashford. Trespassing will result in legal action. My hands shook as I called Grant. He answered on the first ring like he'd been waiting. You changed the locks? That's my home. Actually, it's our home. And I'm within my rights to deny access until we formalize the property division. Check the deed. I own 51%. You insisted we make me the majority holder for tax purposes. Remember? I didn't remember. But I'd signed so many documents in those early trusting days. Documents Grant's lawyer prepared while assuring me it was all standard procedure for couples combining assets. My clothes. My laptop. My work files. I'll have everything packed and delivered. Eventually. His voice hardened. But if you contact any of my business associates, if you try to damage my reputation, those boxes might get lost. Permanently. Accidents happen. Want to see how Kimberly fights back? Don't click away. Drop a like and subscribe to Formidable Revenge channel. Comment below if you've ever been betrayed like this. My mother's birthday party was a nightmare I couldn't avoid. I showed up alone, exhausted after sleeping in Natasha's guest room, wearing yesterday's clothes. Mom took one look at me and knew. Where's Grant? She asked, pulling me into the kitchen. Ask Celeste. My sister arrived 30 minutes later. With Grant. Wearing my engagement ring. The room went silent. My father's face turned purple. My aunt dropped her wine glass. And my mother. My mother looked at Celeste with an expression I'd never seen before. Pure disappointment. How could you? Mom's voice shook. Your own sister. Celeste raised her chin, defiant. Kimberly and Grant weren't right for each other. I did her a favor. A favor. My father's voice was dangerous. You stole from your family. I fell in love, Grant interjected smoothly. These things happen. It's unfortunate, but Celeste and I are committed to making this work. He turned to me with manufactured sympathy. "I hope you can be happy for us, Kimberly. For your sister's sake." The manipulation was breathtaking. He'd positioned himself as the reasonable one, making me look bitter and jealous if I protested. My mother started crying. My father ordered them both out. And Celeste looked at me over her shoulder as they left and mouthed, "Checkmate." That night, my mother had a stroke. The stress, the betrayal, the shock, it was too much. She collapsed in my father's arms while cleaning up the party decorations. 3 days later, while Mom was still in ICU, I discovered the final betrayal. Martin Holdings had fired my agency. Grant had kept his promise to destroy my career. Within a week, 3 other major clients followed, all citing creative differences, but clearly influenced by Grant's network. My business partner, Rebecca, called an emergency meeting. "We're hemorrhaging money. Without those accounts, we'll have to close the agency in 6 months. Maybe sooner. What if I leave?" I asked quietly. "Start over somewhere else?" Rebecca hesitated. "Grant's already spreading rumors, calling you unstable, unprofessional. Another agency might not take the risk." My mother recovered from the stroke but was never the same. The left side of her face drooped, her speech slurred. She'd lost everything trying to keep our family together, and Celeste didn't even visit the hospital. I lost the condo in mediation. Lost most of my savings in legal fees. Grant's lawyers buried me in paperwork, dragging everything out until I couldn't afford to keep fighting. Celeste and Grant married 3 months later in a courthouse ceremony. The announcement made the business section of the Houston Chronicle. Tech entrepreneur weds marketing executive. No mention of me. Like I'd never existed. I sold everything I had left and moved to San Francisco with $8,000 and 1 suitcase. Rebecca had a contact there, a small startup called Vertex Technologies. They needed a marketing director. The pay was half what I'd made in Houston, but it was something. My first year in San Francisco was survival mode. Tiny studio apartment in the Tenderloin. Instant ramen for dinner. Working 16-hour days to prove myself. At night, I'd scroll through Celeste's social media. A masochistic habit I couldn't break. She posted constantly. Luxury vacations. Designer clothes. Charity galas. Living my stolen life. The worst part. Grant's company was thriving. He'd secured massive funding, expanded into 3 new markets. Everything he touched turned to gold while I struggled to pay rent. My mother called weekly, her slurred speech making every conversation heartbreaking. "Come home, sweetheart. Your father and I miss you." But I couldn't go back. Houston was infected with Grant and Celeste. Every street corner held memories. Every business contact was someone Grant had turned against me. 2 years in, I almost quit. Applied for a job at a competing agency in Seattle. Anything to start fresh again. But then Vertex's CEO, Julian Reeves, called me into his office. "I'm making you VP of Marketing," he said. "You've tripled our client base. You're the best hire we've made." Why? I couldn't hide my suspicion. Good things didn't happen to me anymore. Julian smiled. "Because you're hungry. And hungry people change the world." Julian became more than my boss. He became my ally. My mentor. And eventually something more complicated. We'd work late, strategizing Vertex's expansion. Over Thai takeout and whiteboards covered in marketing plans, I told him about Houston. About Grant and Celeste. About everything I'd lost. "You want revenge," Julian said. "Not a question. A statement. I want justice." Same thing. He pulled up Grant's company profile on his laptop. Ashford Technologies. Revenue last year. $85 million. But look closer at their fundamentals. They're overleveraged. Too much expansion too fast. 1 bad quarter and the whole house of cards collapses. "What are you suggesting?" Julian's smile was sharp. "Vertex is about to go public. Our IPO will make us a major player. And I have connections that want to destroy Ashford Technologies. They've been waiting for the right moment. Why would you help me?" Because I've done my research on Grant Ashford. He's a parasite. He takes credit for other people's work, burns through partners, and leaves wreckage behind. Julian leaned forward. And because I recognize pain when I see it. You've been drowning for 3 years. Let me throw you a life raft. Over the next 18 months, Julian and I built Vertex into a powerhouse. Our IPO was massively successful. We acquired 2 smaller companies. And every strategic move we made with one goal: positioning ourselves to crush Grant. The night before our biggest acquisition, Julian kissed me in his office. "Is this okay?" he asked. I should have said no. Should have kept it professional. But I was lonely and angry and tired of letting Grant win. "Yes," I whispered. We kept it secret. The power dynamic was complicated, and we both knew it. But in Julian's arms, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Powerful. Desired. Seen. Then my father called. "Your mother's cancer came back. Stage 4. The doctors say she has 3 months. Maybe 6. I flew to Houston for Mom's final months. Julian came with me, claiming business meetings but really just providing support. My father had aged decades. His shoulders permanently stooped under grief's weight. Celeste visited once. Showed up with expensive flowers and empty apologies. She'd gained weight, lost her spark. Grant wasn't with her. "Where's your devoted husband?" I asked coldly. "Working." She wouldn't meet my eyes. "Always working." "That's what you wanted, wasn't it? The money. The status." Celeste's hand shook. "I'm pregnant." The words should have hurt. Should have been another twist of the knife. Instead, I felt nothing. "Congratulations." "Kimberly, She stopped, tears streaming. "I'm sorry. For everything. I was jealous and stupid and I ruined both our lives." "You're only sorry because you're miserable." "You're right." She wiped her eyes. "Grant's company is failing. He's been lying about the numbers. We're about to lose everything. And I'm trapped with a baby on the way." 2 days later, my mother died holding my hand. Celeste was in the waiting room, but I didn't let her in. Some betrayals can't be forgiven, even in death. At the funeral, Grant had the audacity to show up. Expensive suit. Fake sympathy. Acting like he had any right to be there. Julian intercepted him at the cemetery. "Grant Ashford." Grant's face went pale. "Julian Reeves. I didn't know you were in Houston. Kimberly's my partner." "In every sense." Julian's voice was ice. "And I wanted to personally inform you, Vertex is acquiring the majority stake in Ashford Technologies. The board approved it this morning. As of Monday, you'll be reporting to Kimberly." The color drained from Grant's face. "That's not possible. We're privately held. You took venture capital 6 months ago. Remember? When you were desperate for cash." Julian smiled. "Those venture capitalists. They're my friends. And they're tired of your mismanagement. The acquisition is hostile but legal. You'll keep your title temporarily. But Kimberly will be your boss. Your CEO. Your ultimate authority." I stepped forward, meeting Grant's horrified gaze. "See you Monday, Grant. 9 a.m. sharp. Don't be late." The next 6 months were systematic destruction disguised as corporate restructuring. I fired Grant's enablers one by one. Restructured departments. Cut his salary by 60%. Moved him to a basement office with broken air conditioning. Every humiliation was carefully documented. Completely legal, absolutely ruthless. Grant couldn't quit. The acquisition contract included a non-compete clause. If he left, he couldn't work in tech for 5 years. He was trapped. Just like he'd trapped me. Celeste filed for divorce when their house went into foreclosure. She moved back in with my father, raising her daughter in the bedroom we'd shared as children. Sometimes I felt pity for her. Mostly I felt nothing. Julian proposed on the anniversary of Vertex's acquisition of Ashford Technologies. "Make an honest man of me," he said, laughing. "Before the board questions our ethics." I said yes. Not because I loved him, though maybe I did in my way, but because some wounds never fully heal. You just learn to build a life around the scar tissue. My wedding was small. My father walked me down the aisle, tears streaming down his weathered face. "Your mother would be proud," he whispered. Grant wasn't invited. But 3 months later, he showed up at my office. Older, broken, barely recognizable as the confident man who'd destroyed my life. "I need to resign," he said. "This has gone on long enough. You have 2 more years on your contract. Kimberly, please. I'm begging you." I looked at the man I'd once loved, the man who'd stolen everything from me, and I felt nothing. No satisfaction. No victory. Just emptiness. "No," I said simply. "You made your choices. Now live with them." That night, Julian found me on our penthouse balcony, staring at San Francisco's glittering lights. "You got your revenge," he said. "Why don't you look happy?" Because winning didn't bring my mother back. Didn't give me those 3 years I spent rebuilding from nothing. I turned to face him. Grant destroyed me, and I destroyed him back. But we're both casualties now. Regret? No, I meant it. But I understand now what my mother tried to teach me. Revenge is necessary, but it's not healing. Justice had been served. Grant would spend years paying for his betrayal. Celeste lived with the consequences of her choices. And me. I built an empire from ashes. Became powerful beyond anything I'd imagined in Houston. But power, I learned, was just another word for lonely. That's Kimberly's story. Dark, brutal, satisfying. If you loved this revenge, smash that like button, subscribe to Formidable Revenge channel for more stories like this, and comment what you would have done in her position. Thanks for watching.